Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to today's City Awakening, and really getting back to what's considering the most important and all of this sort of stuff. So it was really good listening to what everyone was saying there, because it lines up a lot with what I'll be teaching and sharing on today. So in terms of the power of the I am, and today I'm really just looking to go back to absolute basics on this, like really go back to basics. And there's a saying that you need to hear something at least 4 times, usually a lot more, before it actually sinks in. So the aim of today is to really just give another one, help this sink into all of us, the power of the I am. So start off with, who would like to lead the Lord's Prayer? And the reason that we always do this is that when Yeshua or Jesus spoke to his disciples, what he said in the Bible, and he was asked about prayer, he was asked a question like, how do you pray? And and he didn't actually say to him, oh, just be led by the Spirit, or let the Father lead you. He actually says the words pray in this manner. So if he says pray in this manner, he's giving you a big clue and actually showing you a structure of prayer to actually follow. And it was very interesting, because I woke up this morning and for some reason I started thinking about the Lord's Prayer, and I felt to pray at the start of my day, which I don't normally do. And as soon as I did, I saw things about the Lord's Prayer I'd never seen before. And I'll just quickly share these before I get someone to pray this, because then you can pray with a whole new meaning. So the first part of the prayer, what I really saw was, because of course in the Bible it's written very differently. So I'm just going to also get up the Lord's Prayer in the Bible as we do this, and just go into this a little bit. But yeah, this is the actual Lord's Prayer as it's written in the Bible. And then there's the version that we've got here, for some reason. Okay. So when we have a look at it here, so it starts off by specifically focusing on connection with God, from whom the breath of life comes, or our Father who art in heaven. And the words jumped out at me this morning, hallowed be your name. Now, of course, when you're learning today and it talks about the I am, it actually says, I am the Lord, this is my name. And Neville Goddard, when he interprets the scriptures in his books, says that I am the Lord, that is my name. So Neville Goddard says what basically is being said here is that I am is God's name, which means I am in the now. So hallowed be your name. In other words, it has to be eternal, it has to be lasting. When your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. It's actually a manifestation. Like, it's exactly what we're talking about. Your will is manifested. Your heavenly domain abides in me, and you're manifesting on earth in the same way that things are already manifested in heaven. Now, that's the whole secret of manifestation in the I am. But everything is already manifested in the heavenly realms, in the higher realms, in higher frequencies. And when we understand even what science has determined, that we're living in this quantum universe where everything is holographic, quantum layer upon layer, and I hope I'm explaining this well. But so one of the things that J.J. Hurtak in his book, The Keys of Enoch, explains is that as you get down towards the earth frequency, it's a much more dense, lower frequency. Everything goes slower. So things that have already happened, the moment you say something or speak something or manifest something and you feel it, it's already manifested. You've already created it. The seed's already happened. It's manifested in the realm of the mind, of the thought, of the spirit. But then in terms of the physical realm, it hasn't yet come into being, because everything goes slower on earth. So he's actually saying, pray your heavenly domain abides in me, and let your will be manifested in this earth right now, in this universe. It's already been manifested. Let it be on earth, and let it happen in the same way on earth as it's already happened in the heaven. Now, this gives a whole range of possibilities, and it's been one of the reasons why some of you would have seen the webinar I did with Raymond Grace this week, and where I'm doing another one this week on Wednesday called Be Your Own Physician, where I'll be actually teaching stuff. And it was something that I realized how much, especially in the realm of healing the body and the mind, is really something that's been a big passion of mine. And realizing that all of my greatest healings have happened when I first done exactly what it says here. I mean, whenever I've tried everything else, I've gone and done this and got physical treatment, it certainly helped. But it's once I actually get into that place where it's already done and you know it's done, that things actually come into manifestation. So the Lord's Prayer is one of the biggest manifestation things you could ever get. And that's why Jesus said, pray ye in this manner. In other words, pray in the now. So notice what he's saying. Pray that you're manifesting right now in the earth what's already manifested in heaven. That's manifestation. The next thing he says is, give us this day our daily bread. And then it says here, thank you for your wisdom to manifest our daily needs. And again, notice that's in a now frequency. In other words, giving us this day our daily provision, which lines up with all the scriptures and teachings that we're always provided for, no matter what's happening, no matter what's going on in the world, and things like that. So, in other words, pray for your provision and give thanks for your provision. So firstly, connect with God, connect with the Father, however you do that. That's the first thing that comes through these ones here in a really big summary. Connect with God in whichever way within yourself, remembering that the kingdom of God is within you through the breath, through a daily walk, through some kind of ritual, whatever helps you get into yourself and get centered and get presence with the I am. Whether it's a walk, whether it's getting up and reading a book, whether it's doing some exercise, going in the garden and doing some work in the garden, whatever. And then the next one is to give thanks that everything is already done. There's actually a guy who teaches a whole workshops where he specifically teaches people to see extraordinary changes in their life. And all he does is focus on them starting every day and finishing every day with thanksgiving for what they've been given. And this is something that Raymond Grace says, always give thanks for what you have rather than focusing on what you don't have. So this is what the Lord's Prayer is saying as well. But it's also saying to give thanks for your provision. In other words, don't let the illusion or deception of scarcity hit. And all of us are vulnerable to that when the media hits us. We hear rumours of recession. We hear things being put in the media that hit us all the time. And I know myself, there's times I'm going through a major change in my life, a huge change. I'm made some decisions to let go and make some major career changes and focus more on the spiritual teaching path. And I cannot, in words, say to you the level of fright and fear I've had in stepping into this and where this is going to take me. And everything in me in the past or in days gone by to distract myself from things has always been to do everything from bite my nails to pluck hairs or pick skin or just do lots of things or focus on, get on the phone and watch lots of sport or play Candy Crush or whatever else I've done to do it, or just worked my ass off just incessantly doing something that doesn't really mean anything. And the challenge I've set for myself the last couple of months is just to stop doing that. And just every time that I'm feeling like doing that, not to do it. Now, I cannot tell you how difficult that's been. It's been almost impossible. I would go as far as to say everything in me has wanted to just smash through that and just do something or, you know, almost blow my head off. That's the kind of feeling that I've had. And yet I've just stayed in it, stayed in it, stayed in it, stayed in it, stayed in it. And there's no way I'm in any way through that cycle yet. I'm still going through a lot of it. I'm just finding I'm getting more comfortable now being in that and not letting the distractions get in my way and just really being in what I'm feeling. So this is what it's saying here. Give thanks for your provision, for your abundant provision. And stay in that, even if everything in your emotion, your fear, your mind goes against it. You just stay in it and know it to be true. And you look back over your life and see that it's always been true. And no matter what else has happened in our lives, it's always true. And so that's the next thing of the Lord's Prayer. And then very interesting, it says, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And another way of putting it here is dissolve the fetters of fault that bind us as we release the guilt of others. And even another way of putting this is allow yourself to be balanced in all things and release and forgive. In other words, give thanks for whatever's happened. So if you feel angry at what someone's done to you, you feel you've been cheated, you feel you've been wronged, just realize there's always a balance to that all. And in the same way that we've cheated and wronged people, and even if we didn't mean to, we've done it. You know, we've gone off our path. We've distracted ourselves. We've done something to hurt someone. And then generally we tend to justify our actions and give an excuse and find a reason to justify what we've done. And then meanwhile, we go ahead when someone else does the same thing and we're harsh with them. So what it's saying there is get things into balance. Don't judge yourself, but don't judge others. Don't be overly, kind about your faults. But at the same time, when you see your faults, acknowledge your faults, balance them, and move on. So dissolve the fetters of faults that bind us. In other words, release it and see it in balance. I can remember once talking to a guy who had a situation where, there'd been some people go into an investment scheme which hadn't worked out, and a lot of guilt he was feeling. And the interesting thing was what the guy said was, well, let's balance this out. How did it serve the people going into the investment scheme and not working out? How did it serve them? And when it was broken down, it was like, you could see the lessons that they had learned from the whole experience and certain things that they had done. And so he says, dissolve the fetters of fault. In other words, bring everything into balance where you feel you've been wronged or feel like you've wronged others. And see how even what you perceive as wrong in your own actions has served others, and vice versa, where you feel someone has wronged you, see where has also served you. So this is, again, all the stuff we've been teaching and what's been taught is all in the Lord's Prayer. So forgive our trespasses. In other words, let go of the things that we've done. And then lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. Or in the words of here, let us not be caught up with things that will take us off our path. In other words, help us stay focused on what what our path is. Let us not be distracted from things that don't serve us. Now, that doesn't mean don't have fun, but sometimes we have too much fun when we're meant to do work. Sometimes we do too much work when we're meant to have fun and don't have things in balance. So let us not be caught up in things that have absolutely no meaning, or that aren't going to give us joy, or we're going to take us off track. And let us be liberated from everything, whether it's our belief system, activities, people in our lives that no longer serve us, but keep us from our true purpose. So he's saying, let this be like a daily affirmation, so to speak. I know Raymond Gray says every day he has a series of affirmations that he does. And it's really interesting. The Lord's Prayer really is just giving you a series of affirmations that you can actually do. So whereas Raymond's affirmations, for example, he goes right through and lifts them out and shows you exactly what they have. So as an example, I've got his affirmations right here, right now. But these are some of the ones which Raymond does every single day. I'm aware of all attempts to adversely manipulate my mind. My mind rejects all harmful subliminal messages. I'm aware of all non-beneficial energies in my energy field. I'm aware of all danger to myself, family, friends, and country. I take appropriate action to prevent or avoid the danger. I'm always at the right place at the right time. I say the right thing at the right time in the right possible way. Donald Trump, for example, one of his affirmations he does every day is, I'm always in the right place at the right time to make the right kind of deals. That's actually one of his affirmations. And I think we would agree he tends to manifest that. I create an energy field around me that transforms all non-beneficial energy into the most appropriate energy needed at the time. So I often do this. I remind myself, I make this statement in my case, I also often say, and let the blood of Christ also surround me and shield me and keep all my energy fields, my auric fields, my morphogenetic chakras completely clear and completely released. I attract to me people, events, and energy to enhance prosperity and fun. I deserve prosperity and fun. I understand my life purposes. I have the knowledge and ability to fulfill them. My body absorbs the appropriate nutrients of all foods and drinks I consume. I maintain my ideal size and weight. This is something that I've been doing more and more of, especially affirmation 8. And I've been noticing the difference, what's happening in my health. It's just been getting better and better and better. It's one of the reasons I'm doing this, Be Your Own Physician. And I noticed Lorraine asked about when it is. So it's going to be this Wednesday, Lorraine. I think it's already been put in the Telegram group, and on Facebook we'll be putting it in there and keeping it out. But it's definitely one worth coming to, where I'll be showing some of the stuff we've been discovering about how to actually use this stuff in your health. And it's been quite remarkable. We've been doing testing and all kinds of stuff. But yeah, my body absorbs the appropriate nutrients of all food and drink. I maintain it. So actually starting to see it and believe it. I have enough time to do everything I need to do and choose to do, and as well with time to spare. I remember I always used to say, for example, I'm always busy and never have enough time to do anything. Not surprisingly, that was the case. I actually changed it to I'm a productive man and I always have plenty of time to do what I love doing. And in fact, I created the opposite problem for myself. A lot of time, and at times feeling I didn't know what to do next. I repel all people, energies, and events that are harmful for me. Sure, you would agree, a very good set of affirmations that those are. So this is one of the things that shows up here. And then finally, like an acknowledgement, we finish off, for yours is the kingdom, the power and the glory forever and ever, amen. Or from you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all. In other words, within us comes a song, a connection, a thanksgiving, a praise. So we start with honoring or acknowledging the higher God and the creator that's within us. And we finish off by giving praise for all the wonders and the majesty and the perfection of the universe and of God and of within us. And then finishing off with the sacred word, amen. Or as Yogananda calls it, the Aum, A-U-M. So anyway, that's the Lord's Prayer in a nutshell. And it's a great start to do this. And I had no intention of going into it that depth, but for whatever reason, I just felt to do so. So now, praying it with more conviction, who would like to start by doing that? Who would like to pray the Lord's Prayer?
I'm happy to.
Awesome, thank you.
O thou from whom the breath of life comes, who fills all realms of sound, light and vibration. Your light is experienced in my utmost holiest. Your heavenly domain abides in me. Your will is manifested in the universe, all that vibrates, just as on earth that is material and dense. Thank you for your wisdom, understanding, assistance to manifest our daily needs. Dissolve the fetters of faults that bind us, karma, as we release the guilt of others. Let us not be lost or caught up in superficial things, materialism, common temptations, but let us be liberated from everything that keeps us from our true purpose. From you comes the all-working will, the lively strength to act, the song that beautifies all and renews itself from age to age. Amen. Sealed in trust, faith and truth, I'll confirm with my entire being.
Awesome, thank you, Christine. So let's just go through, and like I said, just getting back to some basics today. So I always love doing webinars with Raymond because he really gets me back to basics, that literally anything that we live in is in a world of energy. That's all we are. It's just that what we've got on Earth is a slower form of energy and a more dense one. And something that actually hit me, which I'll share with you, but I was talking with Christine Evans here about, and we were having this discussion about manifestation. And I said to her, well, what I find really interesting is you think about what's going on here right now, this minute, on this webinar. So as I'm speaking to you, all of you who are listening to this, whether you're listening it now in live, or whether you're listening to it as a replay, the fact is you're all seeing me on the screen, you're seeing my image, you're all hearing me speak, and you're all basically seeing all my voice coming through as if in real time, and you're seeing my face come through as in real time, and you're seeing the images. Now, how does that happen? How does suddenly something that's on this slide, which I've got on this computer, which I've done up over here, where I'm sitting right now in a house in Albany, now on everyone's different computers all over the world or in different places? It's a miracle when you think about it. Like, it's an absolute miracle how this could be so and how this has actually happened. But it's happened. And it goes something like this. Scientifically, what's happening is that the physical form on my computer gets transmitted into light, into wave energy or audio sound energy. This then goes through the ether, the stratosphere, and then your computer has a receptor that enables to pick it up, retake the images, and retransmute them. So it's kind of like a form of teleportation. So when we ask ourselves, is it possible for us to teleport? I don't have the slightest doubt about it. Many of the great yogis have been able to do it. And the reason why is they just realize there's not really much difference to us sitting here right now, teleporting effectively images onto everyone's screen. When you think about it, that's what's actually happening, or televising audio into everyone's screen, and then teleporting your physical body just by taking your particles turning them into wave energy, and then going to somewhere else by your thought or intention. Now, it's extraordinary thought when you think about it, but that's basically how it works. So everything is energy and it can be transformed. So don't know if anyone else thinks about that, but it's just a miracle. It's been really processing in my mind, just the miracle of technology, and even how artificial intelligence now, how there's now software where videos can be taken of a person and they can be sent just about anywhere and everywhere all across the world. And your image can be going across doing videos and transmuted with voices all by software now. So it's amazing. And yeah, no, look, Christine, it kind of blows my mind. And it's showing me, I think we so limit what we can do. And there's a good reason why Jesus said, many of the great yogis said, the only thing limiting us is the power of our imagination or lack of it. So he says that you could actually move a mountain. And there's a scripture which we've read here before, if you actually believed it was possible. So I did a normal I Ching reading to see what came up, and this one fascinated me a little bit. It wasn't quite what I expected, but I'll share it anyway and see if it means anything to anyone. So this one's a little bit of a restrictive hexagram, and it's kind of telling you to discriminate a little bit better. Usually contains a little bit of warning about undertakings and telling you to stop doing things is generally what it talks about. It's kind of a thing that says stop, plan, and think about things before you do it. That's basically what this hexagram talks about. And then the relating hexagram, which is 32, is about consistency and things not really changing. So the two changing lines, which are always the most important, are lines 1 and line 3. That's the main one that it actually does. So line 1 and line 3. So when we go and have a look at that one, so this is the actual picture of it. So basically, so to speak, the one on the far left here. So or over here now. So it's changing line 1 and changing line 3. When we have a look at that one, it talks about a young woman becoming a concubine, or a person who's lame in one leg. It can still going forward will be fortunate. So basically what it's saying here is to keep moving forward, even if you feel like you're limping, is actually better than not walking at all. And to become a concubine is doubtless better than remaining single. That's the basic idea. So it's indicating some advance, but you know, a limited kind of advance for now. In other words, it's taking things slowly, systematically, and things like that. So making do with what you have, getting by as best you can, although in a weak and powerless position. In other words, right now there seems to be some limits with the world situation or what's around you. It's a good time to still get things done. And then the next one is line 3. So, and again, the same kind of thing. A small advance is being won. It does seem to suggest some kind of restriction right now, and at the same time, not compromising yourself either. So, in other words, it's basically going right now on a small scale and going a little bit slowly, and just kind of, in a way, a little bit of a warning not to go into anything that doesn't resonate with you. That's basically what it's saying. In summary, what this is basically saying in hexagram 54, it's a time to be very wise in what you're doing, taking things slowly, not expecting too much and too quickly, but making progress in terms of where you're at. Does that resonate with anyone right now? Like I said, that was a strange hexagram to get, but for whatever reason, that's what we got. So it seems to be a little bit of a taking things in process and not expecting too much right now. That doesn't mean don't have big goals or dreams. I would be saying take it slowly, systematically, and in process. That's what it seems to be saying right now. And that certainly aligns with the world situation. So let's get on to the I am, because the I am is all about changing things. And even in saying that I Ching, for example, that's what I got, but it doesn't mean that we can't actually change that hexagram, do some work today, and then let's see if we do another reading at the end, what we actually get. So I'm going to experiment with that. I'm really about changing reality. So that's what we're getting for right now. I'm going to have a little bit of a look at to what we can change it to. But the I am, and this is something that Raymond talked about in his webinar with me, that we already have everything that we want right now. And you focus on what you want, not what you don't want. So for example, the fact that we can sit here on this webinar right now, we can teach this kind of stuff, we already have a lot. The fact that we can eat, the fact that we can do things, the fact that we're living in a place and haven't been bombed or anything like that, we're much better off than much of the world. So a lot about it's giving thanks. Even at the moment, as I mentioned, in all the challenges I've been going through, and believe you me, I've been going through like intense, every day I give thanks and think, what are the things to give thanks for? And one of the things I've noticed in the last 3 months, I see extraordinary gains with my health, like extraordinary gains, like gains which I didn't even expect. Surprise wins in that area, just out of the blue, things fixing I didn't expect to fix so quickly. Things just getting into shape and seeing things happen that are almost mind-blowing for me. Seeing myself feeling in the best physical health I've been in a long time. My fitness having gone up, my strength having gone up. Noticing how strong I feel in my body. Notice that able to do monkey bars for the first time, literally since I was a teenager, and things like that. So at the same time, while I'm going through all these other challenges, things in my physical body are really rectifying. I'm finding that now I'm out of certain business activities I really was hating, and I've been more freed up from these activities. I'm doing more things I'm liking. So one of the things is to see that already things are happening and give thanks for what's happening in your life. So you're already that what you basically want to be, and your refusal to believe this is the only reason that you do not see it. And again, this is something that Raymond talked about with me in the interview. For those of you who are there, no problem is ever solved from basically where you're at right now. It's always solved from taking a new position. So for example, one of the things where I really applied this, and I'll be speaking a bit more about this at the Be Your Own Physician, was I can remember when I started getting a huge amount of arthritic pain in my joints around my hands and my fingers in 2016. And I got a bit panicky about it. Like, I mean, to be honest, it was really like going downhill fast. I was noticing that when I would go for walks, my knees were suddenly getting like really bad, and I couldn't work out what was going on. And I can remember mentioning it to Raymond, and he just kept saying to me, well, let's just get the spirit of the knee back. But the biggest thing he said to me, I've never forgotten, is, well, it starts by you seeing yourself as already healed. And every time a worrying thought hits you, hit it in your mind with a red paint blob and destroy it. And so that's one of the techniques he taught me, the power of your imagination. So like I would imagine every time because what I would notice, I'd wake up in the night and I'd feel the pain worse at night, and the negative thoughts would come flooding in. And of course, we know the scripture where it teaches our battle is not flesh and blood, but against principalities and powers and dominions. So we have archons and spirits and entities always watching to see if they can attack us and give us some shit in our mind where they see us weak, vulnerable, and frightened. So to give you an example, so they're sitting there waiting. And in fact, as an example, one of the Psalms I really like, and I've been quoting a lot lately, is Psalm 62, where David says, my soul waits upon God. From him comes my salvation. He only is my rock and my salvation. He is my defense or my asset protection of my mind and my soul. I shall not be greatly moved. In other words, I will not be moved away from my center. I will not be distracted. And then, of course, you can see he's speaking here to archon spirits and demons or whatever else. He says, how long will you imagine mischief against a man or against a woman? How long will you imagine to cause pain and suffering? All of you will be slain as a bowing wall or leaning wall, as a tottering fence. And here's the key one. They only consult and cast him down from his excellency, or in other words, from his high place, his position of authority, his high level of frequency. They delight in lies. They bless with their mouth, but they curse inwardly. In other words, they say things that sound like they are good, but they're not really meaning it, and trying to basically bring doubt and fear into you. So this has been something which I've often quoted, and this complements very well another Psalm, Psalm 27, where David says, when the wicked, even my enemies and my flesh, come against me to eat me up, they stumble and fell. Though a host should encamp against me, my heart shall not fear. Though war should rise against me, in this I will be confident. And then it goes on to talk about the protection that you get basically in the presence of God, or in the higher frequencies, or being in that I am, that centeredness. And so then now shall my head be lifted up above my enemies round about me. And in other words, I'll be lifted up into that high place. And notice how he's talking. He's talking in the I am. Keep in mind, if you read this whole psalm, it's not like he suddenly got his life in a better place. He's clearly going through a lot of trouble at this time. And one of the things about the Psalms, when you read them, you'll see that he's actually speaking faith and the I am or Lord's Prayer kind of formula. He's saying, and now I'm going to be lifted up into a high place. Therefore, I will offer in his tabernacle sacrifices of joy. The other day, I was talking to someone here who said they were going through and completing a transaction. And even though there was potentially a challenge of it, they were giving thanks and having a celebratory meal as if it was already done. And it actually went through quite smoothly straight afterwards, even though in theory there could have been some problems. So notice here, but he's speaking in the I am and the I give thanks, and I know this has already been sorted. So that's just a little bit of a tip, is that if you get like a worrying thought, or let's just say that you've got a health condition going on and it starts to cause worry or anxiety, a very good thing is to just imagine it there. And like Raymond said, whatever works for you, like throwing a red paint blob on it. Or let's just say it's the fear of something which is a business issue or legal issue. You can imagine something that represents a legal issue or business issue, like a summons or a business transaction contract that's not favorable, and you imagine setting it on fire. And if it's a business deal, you might imagine something like a business deal. You see yourself standing there with the person and just give thanks as you see the transaction taking place and everything being done. So very important to get this. And one of the great things is that what the scriptures say here is death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit. So in other words, the things that we say are so important. And of course, that's why I love some of Raymond Grace's expressions and the things that he uses quite regularly, his various little affirmations and his little sayings. So these are just some examples of Raymondisms. Like, you always get what you focus most on. So focus on what you want, not on what you don't want. There's only one person on this planet to live with me. Everyone else is a matter of choice. It doesn't matter what you do, someone won't like it. Not everyone liked Jesus. Why would everyone like me? People have a right to their opinion. I have no obligation to agree with them. Life is a matter of choices. Being kind to those who made bad choices and fucked up is a choice we make, not in any way an obligation. And I love this one here because it aligns to what Nelson Mandela said in his inaugural speech. We don't raise our own standards by agreeing with those who have lower standards. Don't take financial advice from poor people, health advice from sick people, and weight loss advice from fat people. So there's a lot of different things you can say, but notice that, and this is one of my other ones that he does I really like. Think of that kind of person you'd really like to be. Imagine yourself being that person. Speak as if you're that person, act as if you're that person, and you become that person. I can remember that one of the things that when I end up becoming a speaker and doing more of this kind of stuff, I can tell you now, I was speaking and living this long before it actually happened. I remember getting inspired by hearing something Dr. Wayne Dyer, a motivational speaker, said to someone. He said, who said he really desired to be a motivational speaker. He said, well, just tell everyone you're a motivational speaker and start behaving like you're one, and you'll manifest it. So I remember thinking, okay, so I started speaking as if I was a speaker. I said that my main path was a speaker, a teacher, and doing that. And the more I spoke that, it started to happen naturally. You start thinking like that. And something that we taught in previous classes here is, as Neville Goddard says, the subconscious basically doesn't know the difference between a truth or a lie. So if you truly believe that you're prosperous, even if you've got no money, but you believe that, you'll just manifest more money. Equally, if you truly believe that you're broke and that you'll never have enough, even if you win a lottery and get $10 million, you will find a way to squander it or lose it. And that's just simply because ultimately we manifest exactly what our subconscious says and feels and thinks about what's really going on with us. So these are just some of the ones. Death and life are in the power of the tongue. And your inner world ultimately is a reflection of your outer work. And that's been the biggest challenge I've been actually getting, is really being truthful with myself about what's going on a lot in my inner world, which sometimes I like to deny. And it's very easy to fall out of that habit. You start seeing things happen and you think to yourself, well, that doesn't always apply. And there's things like the mass consciousness. And yes, the mass consciousness does have an impact on what's going on. But that's why it's so important to neutralize it. That's why it's so important to maintain and stay on your own center and how you see the world. I had a really good, again with Christine, we had a really good conversation, because in West Australia they had this thing that came up like a few days ago, which absolutely blew my mind. I mean, it was a very blatant, blatant one, the New World Order. Now, that's hiding now in plain sight. There's nothing being hidden anymore. So it's like, okay, so now it's kind of like, this is what we're saying we're in. But something that Christine said, she said, well, it doesn't necessarily mean it has to be a certain way that's intended. There can be another New World Order that we're living in. And I said to herself, that's actually a really good point. Because in the scriptures, for example, it actually says that the government will be upon the shoulders of the Christ. In other words, the Christ's shoulder. Or in other words, the Christ the government, which will be a new world government in a new higher frequency. That's actually what it says, like a golden age. And when you read the Keys of Enoch, it says that we're heading into that. That's what we're moving into, a new Christ, new higher consciousness government. But it says there'll naturally be a falling of the former powers in that process that's happening. So we can basically really, in a way, create our own new world order while acknowledging the new world order that's also happening in another way around about us. So there's always things happening together at the same time. So really, there's two new world orders. There's what I call, for want of a better word, God's new world order, or the higher Christed new world order in the Christ, in the Christ, or Christ consciousness, or however you want to call it, in God, in the creator God. And there's the one that's happening within the beast system, which is talked about in Revelation, which talks about a 666 one. And last night in the Keys of Enoch, I was reading about a 666 vibration, and then there's a 999 and a 121212. And 9 is a bit of a number of completion, or finishing things off, or basically in the chakras, for example, your 9th chakra, that's what's called your manifestation chakra, your oversoul chakra. And your 12th chakra is your Christ consciousness chakra. So the 666, the 6 is like the mind, the physical chakra, the physical vibrations, so to speak. The 999, or the Merkaba one, that's basically the manifestation one. And then the 12th one is the Christ one. So there's a guy who I've been seeing in Mandra, who some of you know, a very, very gifted shaman, who is talking a lot about this, about the 9th chakra is the oversoul. It's the one that connects us straight to the boss, or straight to the Christ councils and higher governments. That's our higher soul, which manifests things into the physical. So we can create a new world order in what's called the 999, which is basically a new higher frequency, higher new world order. Now, I know that sounds a little bit kind of spiritually out there. And so to try and to simplify that down, what it's really saying is that the power of our words and the power of synchronizing our inner world, we can create whatever order we like. We can prosper in the middle of whatever's going on around about us. We could be in the worst recession and still be prospering. Equally, we could be in the greatest boom and still be in poverty. It doesn't really matter. It all comes down to what we feel, what we see, and what we believe. And that's the challenge to always overcome. Not the government that's out there, not the newspaper that's out there. That's not the thing with the biggest enemy. But the biggest enemy we're facing is our own mind and our own thoughts. And the more this, for me, especially the last 3 months, I can honestly tell you, I see that more than I've ever seen before. And I sit there and I listen at times to my mind and what's going on in my thoughts and shake my head. And I'm like, how the hell do I shut this thing up? And I don't know if anyone can relate to me in that, but I go, how the hell do you shut this thing up? Like, what do? It's literally doing my head in. And I started to understand, now I can see why I kept distracting myself. Now I can see why I kept finding every way to distract myself, whether it was work, whether it was women, whether it was lots of coffee, whether it was lots of activities, whether it was running to different healers, whatever else I was doing. Ultimately, what I really was trying to do was get away from my own head. There's a very interesting book called The Talent Code and Changing Fire, 2 different books, which they talk about this very thing and why so many people go on the psychedelic drugs. And they say the psychedelic is a way that many people escape the torment in their head. And I saw that with my, I've seen that with people. Like, we see that with people who do that. It's like a way to escape the racing mind and the torment in the head and just bring some kind of peace. So that's one thing that people do. They turn to psychedelic drugs or things like that. Or they turn into extreme sport, to extremist activities to try and escape things. The hardest thing to do in the world is to stop, stay centered, change your thought processes, and be present with whatever is going on within you. And I'm sure you would all agree with that. That is by far the biggest talent. So your inner world really does reflect your outer world. And it's not just the yogis who teach this, not just the I am that the scriptures teach, and things like that, but in quantum physics as well. And this is why I love quantum physics and science, because for every single thing that's taught in the Bible and the Keys of Enoch, in Neville Goddard's teaching, now there's scientists that are starting to show this and actually say this is the truth. And I really like this book by Amit Goswami, for example, a physicist. So this particular guy here has written a series of books. Now they're very hard to read, but he's a Oxford University professor of physics, and he studied just about anything possible, although now about this whole thing. And he pretty much concludes that everything in our life, even the fact that we believe what we're seeing around us, is a direct reflection of our consciousness. So it's like the Matrix. I've met people, for example, Ross Martin, as some of you know, is my homeopath. His deceased wife, she could bend spoons like we do in the Matrix, because she would just say, well, I know there's no spoon, it's just the form, it's not just a head. He had the appreciation that, like weapon, which ends up on someone else's screen, what seemed to be a solid spoon was just a series of particles, or series which had been formed, and she could change the form. And he actually showed me real spoons that she'd actually bent. So it's not just the yogis who teach this. This is now scientifically absolutely been proven. And more quantum physicists are now saying this and admitting this to be the absolute truth in terms of consciousness. So any belief to the contrary is just simply a lie that we're believing. So the moment we start to believe we have no power over our life or our own circumstances, it's a lie. And we can know that, we can distinguish, and that in a way is what Hexagram 54 was trying to say to us, to watch out for deceptions or illusions, or things that are actually tricking us, that aren't actually true at all, and to really see things for what they actually are. So if we see ourselves being limited, for example, it means we are limited. If we see ourselves as, and in fact what we can offer, in fact, so what I've been doing with some of my own limitations that have been happening is becoming grateful for them. Like, what's the benefit? Like lately I've discovered there's certain things I was doing before in my work I just don't do anymore. And with the changing world that we're living in, I've realised probably it won't work in the same way as they used to. And for a little while I was seeing it as a restriction. And I thought, well, it is a restriction, but what's the advantage of this restriction? What it's opening me up to new possibilities I hadn't seen before, which I never would have done if I kept doing what I was doing. So you start to expand your reach, expand the way you're seeing it, because now you're the one internally who's creating anything that happens in you. So quantum physics confirms all of this. And so the I am is, God says to Moses, I am who I am, and you shall tell the children of Israel that I am has sent me to you. And I love this. This is what God said to Moses, you told the children of Israel that this is my name forever. And why is it I am who I am, or I am that I am? And those of you who've done the manifestation courses, which I've done previously, knows that one of the rituals that we do includes an affirmation, I am this I am. In other words, it's like an emphasis. So I am this, or who I am. In other words, don't have any doubt that I am the God of I am. The subconscious does not know that I was. It doesn't know the I will be. So as an example, something that Yvonne Delafleur teaches is that how anything that's the past is really just that. It's a coexisting timeline fractal happening at the same time as the current one. So let's just say that you were bullied as a kid like I was, and I was still holding on to it. It just meant I was living in a timeline that was no longer real. So pretty much the only thing that really is relevant is the I am. Many of you know, but women get this particularly well. In fact, in our own family situation, and I'll and William will laugh about this. We have a situation where one of our family members is getting very anxious and keeps messaging one of their, grandkids, and one of the kids saying, hoping they're okay. And of course, we're like, and of course I said, the thing is, we spoke to him about a week ago and assured them this was the case. And Grace made a very wise comment, well, that was then, isn't it? Today is today. And of course I laughed. I'm like, yep. You can make up anything you want to in your head. So really the only thing that's relevant is now which is relevant is today. I am this I am, or I am who I am. But really what I want to finish up by saying there is let's just actually do something. I'm going to get my Bible for those who are interested, and we're going to do some work on this. So we're going to actually do some work, and let's see what energy, if we can shift any energies, clear any unhelpful energies, and really bring ourselves to a place of abundant manifestation. So just get a bit of a sense in yourself and all of us, who is it that I am today, or who is it that going back to what Raymond said, is imagine yourself who you want to be and then become that person. So imagine who you would like to be, not who you are today, and ask, how will I be that person? And just get a bit of a feeling in your mind. Just get a bit of a sense. Just type a Y if you feel it would help. If we could do some kind of activation right now, and just be led and see where it takes us. And just type in the chat anything that you'd like us to activate right now. Anything you'd like to instantly move into the now for healing. Anything you'd like to move into the now in your financial business, to see a new door opening, see more financial surprises for your life, for example, or more, abundant health, and just whatever comes to you that feels right for you. Like it could be you have something going on in your back, for example, that you would like to really see healed, or your hip. Could just be something where you feel more vibration or more life, more financial abundance or more finances coming into your life, miraculous clearing of the debt, whatever else it could be. Think about what it is, and yeah, look, feel free. Put it in the chat as well, so we can do that. And if you don't want everyone else to know, you can always send it privately. Okay, yep, I'm getting some private messages come to me. Yep. So just get a picture of what you would look like being like that. I like this. So someone's about overall health to be the best with its possible eyes and teeth. Absolutely. I would really encourage all of you to definitely be there on that Wednesday webinar I'm doing in this area as well, because I'm going to be teaching some more specifics on this one. And I'll go through it after we finish this and show you what we'll be teaching. But I'm pretty excited about it. It's something that I feel that we're heading for some interesting days ahead when it comes to this. And I feel that we're living in, let's just assume that this new world order secondary version that's going on is trying to limit people's access to the physical stuff. And that seems to be what's happening more and more and more. And if that happens, well, the other side of it is the new world order we can create is learning to get more etheric. And in the same way we can transmit through artificial intelligence, what I'll be teaching on Wednesday is I'm discovering that all the stuff with homeopathy, with pharmaceuticals, with flower essences, with nutrients, we can actually infuse them into ourselves without actually having them physically. And I've been starting to notice this. The new discovery I've been noticing, when I say discovery, obviously there's many who've known this before me, and Raymond Grace has been saying this to me for a while. But Raymond challenged me on that one. He said, start to really know you can do it, Warren. Get out there and just do it. He goes, you can help people who've been through, injured from any jabs or anything. You can help people who've done that. You can actually do stuff to help people improve their health. And I've been doing this and seeing extraordinary results, and having it actually tested and seeing it in real time after testing actually get better. And some of you would have actually seen the videos when I actually did this. So anyway, we've got financial first. What we're going to do first is I'm going to just keep yourself focused on this code. I'm just going to turn my video off so I don't disrupt it. And just start to, actually, I'll leave it on for now. I'm just going to scramble any frequencies, interferences, whether mass consciousness, archons, demons, whatever they happen to be, entities, unhelpful. Ooh, I'm feeling that. Crossing over any of the garments in a pale silver reflector orb with third order escorts that are no longer helpful, and taking them for appropriate treatment. Any false spirit guides who are working to create alternative reality and taking them to a place for more appropriate treatment. Taking a while, this one. It's really taking a while. I think there's a lot circulating around at the moment in the astrals. Just getting a sense of any things that are in your way or problems being hit with like a red paint blob, destroyed, set on fire, smashed into pieces, whatever else. And just transforming and just get a sense of whatever it is, finances, health, letting the appropriate spirit come back into that part of your body. If it's like a back or eye, just giving thanks for the spirit of the eye coming back in fully. If it's back, just imagining all your ligaments, all your tendons, all your muscles, all your etheric body and that area getting completely healed. And I'm just sending white etheric light into that part. And just get a picture of it. And if those of you who can see it, just get a picture and just get, or if you can't see it, just get a sense and just know it to be true. That the etheric part of that body is being healed up. And if it's financial stuff, you're seeing etherically your financial bank accounts being restored, your business is being repaired. Whatever it is that needs reparation. Putting everything back on the right frequency. And this is putting everyone's meridians back on the right frequency as well, using what Mike Crockett would do, stimulating the relevant acupuncture points. Ooh. Okay. Let's just scramble any negative interferences in terms of words or prophecies or negative affirmations, oaths or curses or beliefs that we've spoken over ourselves or throughout our generational history, across all time and space, all quantum and subquantum, time and subtime, functions and subfunctions, hormonal, teenage, childhood, everything. And putting it back on the right frequency. And transforming new affirmations into prosperity, into a spirit of joy, prosperity, love, knowing that we deserve to prosper and we deserve to have fun. And that suffering is a choice and an option that we can choose to engage in or not. Okay, well, take a sip of water and then just share what you felt. Okay, any comments or anyone notice any change? Be good to actually see if it's helped anyone. Yeah, so someone felt the energy move when doing the meridians. Yeah, no, I felt a huge shift when I did that. This is something that what I've been doing is a very, very good chiropractor I work with, is acupuncture. He's an extraordinary gift with meridians to balance them out. And I've just been experimenting with using his stuff. And rather than going to see him, see if I can get the same result by energetics. And so far it seems to be happening. Lorraine, stillness and focus. Suzanne, my eyes at the 9 have been discarded, dulling my eyesight. I saw it being pulled out of me, arms outstretched, trying to hang on. Yeah, look, absolutely, yeah. Look, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest, Suzanne. Doesn't surprise me in the slightest. I find that generally there can be that. Some people it's that, some people can be very simple. It's important to notice that even when Jesus did healing, sometimes he'd cast out demons, sometimes he wouldn't do that. You know, sometimes he would just simply work on natural means. But by and large, sometimes there are actually entities that can cause things as well. That's one thing I have actually learned and do that. Sheldon saw the other part of the code slowly starting to go clockwise. Awesome. Anyone else? While we're doing that, I'm going to actually also show you, there's videos which I've done on how this can actually work, so you can actually see that. Suzanne, the yellow became right to go to the image. So this is a machine, what you can see here, where Ross Martin, what it does, it uses, there's a number of these machines like this, they can actually measure your organs and measure your meridians and see where they're at. And then it also says what you need to do to balance your digestion or balance that organ. And then we'll give you flower essences or other kind of things, or energetically infuse the doses into a homeopathic and then give it to you. And it's extraordinarily effective. And something I've been doing for years. So this is just an example of me getting a test on something. I'll just let you see this. So this is my shoulders. This is a few months ago, and my shoulders was really playing up. So it's way below that middle line, which means it's way out of balance. So actually, normally he'd say, yeah, you're going to have to do some work on that. So my shoulder was way out of balance. Now this one did go a bit longer. So my more recent ones, I don't do it to take quite so long, so I'll just fast forward a bit. I found you only need to do about 20 seconds or whatever you need to do. So I've tested everything from doing a full, where I use violet flame, I do those things, and I just simply do what Raymond does by intention. I found this to be no different. So whether I do it quickly or do it slowly. Hopefully you can all see this. Now we're going to retest it. Keep in mind it went way below the black line before. And I've done nothing different now. Yeah, it doubles. And I've got quite a few of these different videos where this has happened. And I've done this for no other reason than to show you what's possible, because my experience is that when people can see tangible proof, it makes it easier. I know for me, it definitely, being that with the machine really helped me to get more excited and believe more what was possible. Okay, so, well, Grace or William, would one of you like to jump on now and take it from here and just share your thoughts and comments?
William. I'll let William do that.
Hope you enjoyed that, Grace.
It's always good to have clearing, anytime, any day. You never get enough of it. It's a really consistent habit that needs to be done to be. Sometimes it's better to just leave it as it is, Warren, because I know this sense that you know, just to really integrate it into the system, allowing
Agree.
it.
Yeah.
Conversation breaks it up.
That feels right. Well, on that note, we'll do what Grace says, and I'll just finish up by saying, for those of you who've asked about the Wednesday class, it's on the City Awakening or the Awakening Within Telegram chat if you go back through here. So this is the one I'm going to be doing where I'll be walking through about etheric medicine development and how you can do a lot of this to correct various things, and talking about infusing by frequency. So yeah, hopefully some of you may want to see some of you there, the etheric body, gaining insights, and joining on this webinar and being on the cutting edge of revolution. So I personally believe that what we're seeing here in 10 years from now, maybe even 5 years, will be more of the norm. You're going to see more and more healing happening this way. You're going to find a lot of medicine is going to happen online, that people will just go on their computers or whatever else. They will scan their hand or do whatever, and there'll be frequency healing that will be happening, and it will become a normal thing. Eventually, there will even be apps which you can use that will be doing it. So this is, I honestly see the way of the future. We moved from where it was all about the body, and then we started to become more open to natural medicine. We became more open to mind, body, and psychology. I think this is the next part of it. So looking forward to it. So thank you, everyone, and we'll see you all next time. Bye for now.